This episode is brought to you by State Farm. From your morning podcast to your afternoon playlist, State Farm knows you personalize your entire day, and that's why State Farm helps you personalize your insurance with the State Farm Personal Price Plan. It offers coverage options that help protect what you care about most at an affordable price just for you. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Prices vary by state. Options selected by customer. Availability and eligibility may vary.
At Mayo Clinic in Florida, we're conquering the unconquerable, using data and AI to create personalized gene roadmaps to fight cancer more effectively. Learn more at mayoclinic.org/possible. Mayo Clinic, you know where to go.
Hockey fans, are you ready to brave the wild with me, your host, Paladino Joey? Brave the Wild is available on the sportstuff.com, iTunes, Stitcher, and Double Twist, which is for Android devices. Stitcher's for either one, Apple or Android or BlackBerry or whatever, and even Windows, I'm sure. And, of course, iTunes is Apple. So thank you so much for listening. Let's talk some hockey. Doing Brave the Wild a bit sooner compared to what I've been doing for a while now. It seemed like I've been waiting almost a month to get to the next show, if you know what I mean. The increments were a bit far apart from each other. This time, only 4 games in between, so it's about time I kind of kept up with this a little better. And again, I do apologize for how things had been. Okay, well, I predicted the Wild would beat Dallas, and I did pick the Wild to win all of them, didn't I? And yeah, that didn't quite work out that way, did it? But hey, they came back and beat Detroit. I might have had the Wild lose that game. I was kind of debating back and forth what was going to happen. Kind of an interesting trend back and forth with how things are going with the Wild and the goaltenders and such. Kind of a back and forth with their success rates. But hey, I guess it's good news. We're wrapping up the first segment with good news against Detroit. That's nice. But Dallas Stars, I guess we just can't beat them. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's against the rules this year. Yeah, I mean, things look so good Monday, December the 21st. I hope all of you did have a Merry Christmas, and I'm recording this on New Year's Eve. So I seem to record this show on holidays or right before holidays or whatever. It's kind of funny. It always seems to pop up on those type of days. I don't know. Hope you're enjoying, and hope this is a nice New Year's Eve edition of Brave the Wild for you, and hopefully it'll break the curse. Maybe you're listening to this after the Wild plays St. Louis tonight. I hope they finally can break the curse. But if not, well, we'll talk about it in segment number 2. We'll give my prediction there. Nice to see Charlie Coyle and Nino Niederreiter. Remember, I was talking about how, man, they're just not coming around with the scoring. They've been struggling. I had Nino Niederreiter as the James Shepard Memorial. Charlie Coyle, it's like, yeah, he's really good, and I really like him. He's the top prospect in the system, but he's just not scoring goals. It's like, my goodness, what a frustration it is. Oh, and by the way, too, we were celebrating the new 5-year contract for one Jared Spurgeon. Yes, a new 5-year deal worth about $5 million a year, so he's definitely not cheap. Kind of close to Pominville level, but he's worth it. And some people believe he may even wind up being the number 1 defenseman on this team. Could you have said that about 3 years ago? Probably not. An undrafted free agent when he wound up with the Wild a few years back, and he has really, really, really blossomed into a really nice player. And, of course, remember how Ryan Suter a little while ago just went on a crazy rant about how pissed off he was when, well, it wasn't that crazy, but you get the idea. He was pretty upset when Mike Yeo was switching up the defensive pairings and such. He has to be with Jared Spurgeon. And, well, Spurgeon's a heck of a player. He started off the game with an unassisted goal to celebrate his new contract. 5 years. How fitting is it to score his 5th goal? So, of the season, it was unassisted on a nice defensive play, and he's able to put the puck in the net. Gotta love that. A takeaway and just a quick shot. 1-0 Minnesota. And then Charlie Coyle, the guy, again, who had been struggling scoring, but still just good hockey plays, good attempts at scoring and such, kind of like Granlund, making nice moves and such, just not quite finishing, getting robbed by goalies. But now, here we go, the third line. It's always a certain line that carries the Wild, and the third line for the Wild. Really stepped up during the course of this entire first, all 4 of these games here, the first segment of this show when I do these reviews. Just a fantastic job by all 3 of them. Charlie Coyle, Justin Fontaine, and Nino Niederreiter pairing up, making it 2-0 Wild, making me so excited. The Wild looks so good starting things off here. And then Dallas goes on a little flurry there in the third period, especially when they ultimately took the lead, only about a minute apart from the tying goal and the power play from Vernon Fiddler. Oh, man. Ben, not Jamie Ben, but Jordy Ben, scoring his first goal of the season. Oh, boy. And then Seguin, I keep saying it wrong, but it's Seguin. And then Nino Niederreiter later on puts the Wild back in it after Antoine Russell early in the third put the Stars up 4-2. Very devastating for all of us. Dallas just so aggressive. They capitalize on any mistake you might make, and they score on it. They're starting to turn into the Blackhawks a little bit, dare I say. Nino Niederreiter netting his 7th goal of the season. Charlie Coyle and Dumba assisting on that one. So really nice to see Niederreiter picking up the scoring. That's cool. 2 points for Niederreiter, 2 points in this game for Charlie Coyle. Very cool to see those guys getting much-needed points, and even Dumba, who'd been quiet, but again, also picks it up during the course of this week and a half or so, week and change we'll call it. Really nice effort from those guys over the course of time, but overall the Stars, the Wild struggle big time. The Stars end up winning the game 6-3. A couple of empty netters as the Wild tried as they might, just could not score an Antti Niemi. So frustrating, so disappointing. The Wild cannot finish this game. And Devin Dubnyk struggling against the Dallas Stars again. I'm not sure where to go with that one. There were rumors about Darcy Kemper starting the game. It ended up being Dubnyk, so okay, now we'll go with Kemper against Montreal. So hopefully things will work out. Kemper's been on a hot streak, and he kept it coming. He kept the hot streak going Tuesday, December the 22nd, at back-to-back. So yeah, put Kemper in. He's becoming a more reliable backup, and at some points, when he's on fire, he's better than Dubnyk. At times. Not overall, but at times. He winds up being the star of the whole game for the Wild. Outstanding. Only giving up 1 goal. Facing quite a few shots in the game. Ultimately, a decent number. It felt like more. Montreal had more shots on goal than the Wild. He faced 25 shots, gave up 1 goal. Mike Condon gave up 2 goals. Jason Pominville with his 5th goal of the season. There's another guy with a much needed 5th goal of the season as he keeps continuing to pop his numbers up a bit. And Kyle Granlund with a much needed point for him as well, even though he'd been on a point streak for a long period of time that was broken during the course of last show. And then Charlie Coyle, this son of a gun, what a move. What an awesome play by Charlie Coyle, man. Oh, man, this guy is a son of a gun. He's just showing off that skill, the talent that he truly does have. And I remember the highlight goal he had against the Edmonton Oilers, which was a game-winning goal for the Wild last season in a 2-1 clamp-it-down effort. This is when the Wild are at their best. When they're playing clamp-down hockey. The goalies are good. They're not giving up a whole lot of shots, and they're not being overly aggressive. They're staying pat, but scoring timely goals. And again, Charlie Coyle, being the big guy out there to score his 8th goal of the year, back-to-back nights. Nino Niederreiter, another assist for him. Really love the way those 2 guys have been picking up of late. That is extremely encouraging, as, again, those guys were stuck at like 12, 14 points for like the longest the longest period of time. Now they're continuing to rise things up, and Kemper, really solid, really strong. Awesome to see all 3 of those guys be big time in this game. Very encouraging for the future of this franchise. Not necessarily saying Darcy Kemper should be the number 1 goalie, but the fact that he's more than a reliable backup. So hopefully we can keep him at least another year or so before teams start chasing him down, or we can sign him to a reasonable contract extension that he's happy with. We'll see what happens, just like we did with Josh Harding not that long ago, though I guess it might as well be a long time ago, when you think about it. Seems like longer ago than it was. Fun, clamp down type of hockey, and just a highlight goal by your buddy out there, Charlie Coyle. Really, really happy with that one. And then we got all the time off for the Christmas break. Of course, no moves made, and all kinds of rumors with the Wild possibly trading. Jonas Brodin, that's a possibility coming up. We'll talk about that a bit very shortly when we talk when we wrap up this segment, or even hop into the next one. Hoping to get this thing to load properly. I do apologize, as the Wild have a pair of 3-1 games. One of them a win, one of them a loss. When you play Pittsburgh and you play Detroit, you might think it might go, the Wild beat Pittsburgh and lose to Detroit. Well, history's kind of been changing a bit. Even though Pittsburgh's not been playing well, guess what? Guess what? The Wild never beat Pittsburgh now. And I don't understand it. It's pissing me off. And I remember when I was talking about how Sidney Crosby has been struggling during the course of the season. He's faced some injuries, but overall he's been struggling, and this team has chemistry issues and all that. You got that asshole Phil Kessel on the team. The only guy who's really been scoring goals is Malkin. But guess what? Sure, if anybody's going to score, who is it? You son of a bitch! Sidney Crosby, 7th goal of the year. What a surprise. And that was early in the second period after a shutout first period. Both teams clamping it down a bit. Every goal was scored in the second period, and it was kind of like a back and forth late in the second period. Early, yeah, but like I said, about 5 minutes into the second, Sidney Crosby and finally getting his 7th goal of the year. That just tells you how much they're struggling. And then you heard the name Matt Cullen getting his 7th assist not long after that, a bit later, late in the second period. And then only 50 seconds later, Jason Zucker, just an awesome goal again, gets a takeaway and gets his 9th goal of the year, assisted by Thomas Vanek on one of the great passes you'll see. Just a spectacular placing of that pass and Zucker finishing on it. What a nice play by both Vanek and Zucker. Love the chemistry between those two guys. Scandella ultimately kind of getting the play started, and Vanek with a nice dish over centering pass over to Zucker, who was able to rifle that thing in there. And, well, all the excitement, all the positivity that the Wild were back in the game, all went up in smoke. Patrick Holmquist on the power play. Wild just can't stay out of the penalty box. 6th goal of the year for Hornquist. Oh, goody. Just about 30 seconds later, not even that, 29 seconds later, 31 seconds, whatever it was, close enough. 6th goal of the season, 3-1 Pittsburgh, and the Wild, try as they might, just could not solve Matt Murray. Yeah, I guess he's better than the other guy, Fleury, over there. Couldn't solve Matt Murray for some reason. They tried as they might, but he's having a strong start to his season over there in Pittsburgh. He's got 2 wins, 1 overtime loss, goals against average of 1.72. He's been real strong, so he might be the Andrew Hammond for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Maybe he can kind of help turn their season around, as those are his first couple of games of his career that I just talked about. This was only his 3rd game of his career or so. He's really, really helping the Pittsburgh Penguins right now turn things around. We'll see if he can keep it coming. Very frustrating indeed. The Wild gets swept in the season series by the Pittsburgh Penguins. 4-3 loss back on November the 17th. And a 3-1 loss in Xcel Energy Center. Not fun at all for any of us. Disgusting. But then things turn around again. The fortunes just continue to turn. It's like, just sit back, relax, things will change, or so you'd like to believe. As it's no longer the cursed month of December. Now we just got to end the curse of the last day of December. Seems like we never win that one. We'll talk about that next segment. Wrap things up here in the first segment, at least in the review category. A 3-1 win for the Wild. Devin Dubnyk back in net after injuring his hand in a practice not too long before. On a slap shot hitting his hand. It was very sore. And then Kemper is hurt in practice. Next thing you know, there's with a lower body injury. You got to love the information there, but we all know why they do that in the NHL. It's a very brutal league. Dubnyk returns. Yeah, it's confusing and driving me nuts. And he was just freaking awesome. He was awesome against Detroit. Awesome. Just like Kemper was against the Montreal Canadiens. Total shutdown. Gotta love what you saw this entire game. Dubnyk ends up being the star of the game, facing 29 shots, only giving up 1. Against a Detroit team that's talented, but some of the names not as familiar as they were before, or the familiar names not doing as well, or suffering through injury, all that kind of stuff going on with Detroit. Yet they're still a playoff type of team. Kind of a back and forth with Florida over there in the Atlantic Division, in the Eastern Conference. Not bad. They're hanging in there. They're hanging in there. They'll probably be back in the playoffs. I've always kind of been afraid of that Peter Mrazek. He's actually a pretty good goalie, but he's actually a really good goalie, to be quite honest. But Charlie Coyle, my God, what a move. Oh, pass from Nino Niederreiter. He puts on a move. The defenseman doesn't know where to go, doesn't know what to do. And Mrazek, there's just nothing he can do either. He's pretty much faked out of his pads. One of the highlight goals of the entire season. Guys like, it's been pretty much Coyle, Zucker, and Vanek, who've put on just unbelievable highlight goals for the Minnesota Wild, especially Vanek and Charlie Coyle. This guy continuing to show what he can do. Niederreiter, his 9th assist. Coyle, his 9th goal. Again, those guys stepping up for this team. So exciting. So exciting to see them climbing up a bit, getting some more points, about 5th on the team in scoring now with Charlie Coyle compared to what was he before, about 8th. So nice to see him leapfrogging a couple guys, and Nino Niederreiter getting back into respectability again. Very exciting indeed. And Mikko Koivu adds 2 goals, 1 on the power play and 1 on the empty net, his 9th and 10th of the year. What more can you say? Mikko Koivu has been absolutely fantastic. Parisi assisting on both of those. Dumba getting an assist on one of them. And Pavel Datsyuk only his 4th goal of the season. Finally scoring for Detroit with less than 2 minutes remaining in the game. The Detroit Red Wings were at least in the game the entire way because of that. Making things a little scary. It's like, yeah, Pavel Datsyuk, a very familiar name. We all know who he is, but only his 4th goal of the season. Definite struggle for him. But yeah, and how long it took for Detroit to break the shutout. That's how good Devan Dubnyk has been playing all season. Datsyuk is just, feeling his age a bit, and also, he's been around forever, and also the fact that, he's missed a decent amount of games this year as well. Not the same guy at this point. He used to be a 70, 80, 90-point guy for the Detroit Red Wings. Not right now. Only 14 points in the season. So we'll see what happens if he's able to pick it up as the year progresses. But hopefully not when he plays the Wild, I guess. That's pretty much the thing right there. Awesome effort from the Wild in this one. Just a fun highlight, positive feeling you get from this one. Highlight play from Coyle. A lot of us so excited because I personally, and I've maintained this, you can listen back to older shows, I have maintained that Charlie Coyle is the top prospect currently on the Wild roster. In the whole system, I don't know yet because it kind of bounces all over the place. You got Mario Lucia, who you don't see all that much because he's in college right now. Same with Justin Tuck and others out there that the Wild took out of Boston. So we'll see how they continue to develop, and it's really hard to gauge college careers to the NHL. You just don't know. It took a while for Mike Riley to start performing, but, we'll talk about him in the next segment as well. He's starting to pick it up, and it's really cool to see. Very exciting to see, actually, to be quite honest. I'm a little distracted because you got the Stadium Series out in the background. New Year's Eve, Boston Bruins, Montreal Canadiens, original 6 playing outside. That's pretty cool to look at. Cam Neely waving to the crowd. That's nice. Classic Cam Neely. I remember him scoring some goals against the North Stars, the Wild. The North Stars back in the early 90s when I became a hardcore fan. I was already a fan, but became more hardcore by the early 90s, and I started watching as much as I absolutely possibly could. So we'll wrap up the segment with the awards here. I'm going to give the Mike Modano Award to Charlie Coyle. What a fantastic, positive run it's been. Honorable mentions to Devan Dubnyk, at least, because of the Detroit game. And, of course, Darcy Kemper being as strong as he's been, and Mikko Koivu. There's a lot of honorable mentions, but ultimately I'm going to give it to Charlie Coyle. What a positive influence he's been on the Wild during the course of those 4 games. Even had some good moves against Pittsburgh, but couldn't finish on him. It just wasn't his night, but Detroit, Montreal, just absolutely fantastic, and got things started against Dallas early on, which unfortunately that game did not go anything like we were hoping. Ultimately, we're going to give the James Shepard Memorial to. It's going to be Jonas Brodin again, and not productive. Certainly not productive offensively. Defensively, he's okay, but he tends to be out there at the wrong place, wrong time as well. There's no major, oh my God, this guy was absolutely awful. And that's been the case most of the time. But some people, it's like Nino Niederreiter last time around. I give it to him, and look at his production ever since. So maybe watch Jonas Brodin double his point total this season. That won't take a whole lot. Maybe just 2 games to do that, but that's the whole point. He's just been invisible. You don't really see him that much. And when you're not, now we're already hearing him in possible trade talks. I'll mention it right now. Before I hop into segment number 2, might as well say it now. There's possibilities of Jonas Brodin going to, and a piece or so, going to the Columbus Blue Jackets for Ryan Johansson. We'll see how things go. Things not going well over there. He's got 1 year remaining on his contract, including being next season, about 25 points on the year. Very talented young center for Columbus, but some character issues with the coaching. And, of course, I think the coach has some character issues as well. But that's just my opinion. I doubt any of you agree with that one. John Torts over there in Columbus. I don't know. I don't know about that guy. I would not want him coaching the Wild. I don't think really anybody wants him coaching anywhere, but I guess Columbus, as desperate as they may be for some notoriety out there, well, I guess you might as well bring John Tortorella there. He won't tear up that organization too much, I would hope. Maybe he'll bring them a little bit of, he'll put them on the map, give them a little hype, I suppose. But we'll take Ryan Johansson here. It would be a shame to see Brodin go. Certainly not the image that Columbus was hoping for, though. I'm guessing to really reshape that team. But, well, maybe he will. With our luck, maybe he will. Stay tuned, folks. Stay tuned. It's just rumors out there that have been spreading on Twitter and Facebook and such. I believe Michael Russo's even touched on it. The possibility of Jonas Brodin getting traded are pretty high. So, I don't know. It's a shame. I really like him. I remember just a couple of years ago, his rookie season, when he was paired with Ryan Studer. What a fantastic stud he was appearing to be. Just right out of the gate. Then his second year he struggled. Third year last year was really, 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 really strong again. And this year he's back to the crappiness again. So, I don't know. You figure it out. I can't do it. You figure it out, man. So, hopefully he is able to turn things around if indeed he's not traded. If the Wild do say, we have faith in this young man and we're going to stick with him and go forward with him, hopefully he can turn things around and be the stud that a lot of us do believe he can be. But it's also the possibility of needing to make some room for Olofsson and such developing defensemen. And, of course, Mike Riley. So we'll talk about that in segment number 2. I'm getting ahead of myself. And we are back here on Brave the Wild, segment number 2, preview segment. I'll probably be previewing 4 games for the sake of, just in case I'm unable to record this weekend again, or possibly Monday or so, Monday, Wednesday, something like that. Maybe it'll be Wild Wednesday, something like that. Okay, I don't want to say that. That's the wrong word right there. And if they're listening, hello, and yes, you do a good job. Just please give me a shout out, damn it. Okay, the Wild host the St. Louis Blues again on New Year's Eve. The last time the Wild hosted the St. Louis Blues was one of the most heartless, frustrating games of all time. Yeah, just one of them. It was a couple years ago. Last year we lost to Columbus right after Mr. Devin Dubnyk had arrived. Things just not quite clicking yet. It took a couple games after we beat Buffalo and such, Buffalo and Arizona, and then here came the Columbus Blue Jackets, and it was like meh. And then, of course, we got hammered by Detroit. And then, all of a sudden, things changed dramatically. Well, this time, things are different. It's not the December swoon anymore. So that's good. Let's not have a January one then. Let's end this year on a positive note first before we get there. Oh, boy. Bad Vlad Bad, whatever his name is. Oh, my goodness. Vladimir Tarasenko, 22 goals on the year, 39 points. Overall, of course, 17 assists to go in there. Alexander Steen also with 34 points, second on the team in scoring with the St. Louis Blues. The rest of them quite a bit behind. Shattenkirk, though, with 23 as a defenseman, not bad at all. Very dangerous team. Vladimir Tarasenko has had some pretty good success against the Wild. The couple games that the Blues won against the Wild in the postseason, Tarasenko certainly showed up in those, but as long as the Wild can shut him down, can physical him and get to him and not allow him to get some shots off, like shut him down, tie him up a bit out there, the Wild will likely win the game against this team. This is already the third meeting between these two teams, if you can believe that. Starting out the season very early, October 10th, the Wild went 3-2 in a close one. And then an overtime loss, as the Wild it's just illegal for the Wild to win in overtime. I don't know why. It's if the Wild could actually win some overtime games, maybe, just maybe, the Wild standing would be a little better. It would. In fact, they'd probably make up quite a bit of points. Ultimately, if they could get rid of at least half of them. Wild lose 3-2 against St. Louis on Halloween, so it's another 31st. Hopefully that doesn't mean another loss for the Wild. Oh, I'm so scared. Yes, I am. And then we don't play until February 6th and March 6th. 31, and 6-6. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about. It's almost like trying to line up the 666 and Halloween and all that, but not quite. It didn't quite make it. Yeah, the Wild need to win tonight in a huge way. Clamp down defense. I mean, that's when the Wild win these games, is when they play clamp down and win 3-1, 2-1 type games. If it's a high-scoring game, the Wild are going to lose, ultimately. If they give up, and yeah, it's not like you just look at the score and say, oh, well, if you give up 3 to St. Louis, you're going to lose the game. But you know what? That's just kind of been a trend for the Wild all season. They have to win in a low-scoring fashion. Yeah, you're going to win some 4-3s, and the Wild got away with that early when Dubnyk wasn't playing as well. But it doesn't seem like the Wild have been getting away with that for the past month or two. You gotta start. You gotta clamp down like we had been. That's why you lost to Pittsburgh 3-1. That's why you lost to Dallas 6-3. I still can't even stomach that. It was really 4-2 until the empty net type of dealie. St. Louis is a good team, but the Wild know how to play them now. Lots of familiar faces, just the same faces. I mean, Paul Stanley's not been good since he went to St. Louis, which is kind of funny, as that was looked on as such a huge signing for them out of Colorado and such a huge loss for the Avalanche. Hasn't really done much. Seems like he's always hurt, and when he's playing, he's not the same guy that he was with Colorado. And Backes has 22 points, which is far lower than the Tarasenko's and Steens of the St. Louis Blues. Again, very familiar faces. We're going to have to see what happens in this one. Oh, boy. Who's going to be the Wild goaltender? Most likely Allen. I guess he's the starter now. And the Wild have had decent success against him, but they've had even better success against Elliott. Though in the past, the Wild never beat Elliott. So, I don't know. I guess the Wild are just in the St. Louis Blues' head, or Elliott's head anyway. Brian Elliott. Again, a guy who a million times in the past, I used to always hope the Wild would sign him because I didn't have any faith in Kemper, and I was flat done with Nicklas Backstrom at that stage. He's just no good anymore. He's too old, damn it. So, yet he's still on the roster. Go figure. Oh, God, same BS. Wild head to Florida. This doesn't usually bode well for the Wild, historically. I don't feel a whole lot of confidence. Oh, I got to give a prediction for tonight's game, though, first, even though it's probably going to be, mostly you'll probably hear it afterward, even though the show is definitely released before the game, well before, several hours before, but not everybody gets around to it. I'm going to pick the Wild to win tonight. Yes, we're going to break that. We might as well. If we can break the December streak, you might as well beat the December 31st streak. The Wild are going to win the game 3-1. There you go, against Allen. Yep, against Jake Allen of the St. Louis Blues. Yeah, I'm going to go with 3-2. I don't know. I mean, Tarasenko's on such a tear scoring. They're going to get at least 2 goals, and I'm pretty certain Tarasenko's going to get one of them, unfortunately. He's that good. He's just a phenomenal player. And if he scores real early, watch the hell out. Just seriously, watch out. Oh, man. Expect Dubnyk in net, though, most likely, especially with Kemper being hurt. You're not going to see Backstrom in there, that's for sure. So Kemper's kind of like a who knows type of deal right now. Wild head to Tampa Bay all the way in Saturday. Long ways off. And then Sunday, a back-to-back, January the 3rd. Well, it's not that far off anymore. Is it? It's Thursday already. But Sunday they head to Miami to play the Florida Panthers, who are doing very well. Tampa Bay, the Eastern Conference champions, defending Eastern Conference champions, not doing a real good job defending it, though. Not that great. They wouldn't be in the playoffs today if things started. They're only 18-16-4. No, Olen's out, but that's a name we don't miss too much. He's out with a knee injury. That's about what that guy used to play with the Vancouver Canucks, and yeah, I remember when he broke Mikko Koivu's leg. Really, really nice one. Thank you so much for that. They're just not having a good year. Stamkos, man, what a stud he was for the longest time, and he's not even old at all. But his performance last year in the Stanley Cup Finals was quite disappointing. He's picked it up, though, this year, which is nice to see. 16 goals so far. Nice to see in that sense, anyway. More goals than assists, so that's kind of interesting, obviously, as a center. He's just more of a natural goal scorer. 28 points on the season, but he's a minus 11. That looms very, very large, and it's as bad as his rookie year. Not good for him. After that, he'd never been a minus double digits, so hopefully for his sake he can turn that around during the course of time for him, Mr. Steven Stamkos. Man, what a stud he is capable of being as long as he can stay healthy. He's had in and out again injury issues with the Tampa Bay Lightning, but not this year. Just in general, this is not a team that is playing well, and I think the Wild can win this game. If you're going to split, and that's what I'm kind of leaning towards, I think the Wild will split in Florida, and I think we'll win the Tampa Bay Lightning game. We've had good success against them. I think it'll be a fairly low-scoring game, though. Bishop is a very, very good goalie. He's had his success, and he's having an awesome season as well. He's pretty much the glue holding that team together right now. Really. Goals against average 2.06 on the season. Save percentage 9.925. Wow. So just a fantastic run for him. The Tampa Bay lost a couple of games pretty rough lately. Oh, boy. And he did not play well against the New York Rangers just recently. 5-2 loss. Not cool at all. And they lost to Montreal 4-3 before that. But then they beat Columbus 5-2. So kind of back and forth effort there in Tampa Bay. I think the Wild will win and give the Tampa Bay Lightning their third straight loss on Monday night. I'm going to go with, it's not going to be the highest scoring game ever because Bishop's generally good, but he's been struggling. I'm going to go with a 4-2 victory for the Wild. The Wild are going to score. It's going to be exciting. Parise, by the way, will be out for tonight. Of course, that's kind of old. That's something that you need to know about if you're listening to the if you're listening to this before the game. But yeah, no Parise. Ultimately, hopefully he'll be back for Tampa. I would hope so. Not sure exactly where to go with it, but it seems like more of a day-to-day type of situation for Zach. Ultimately, though, the Wild, I do think, who's going to score in this one? Well, Niederreiter, Coyle, Koivu, yeah, I guess so, guys like that. Don't be surprised to see Pominville put in a goal in one of these games. Vanek, overall, has been fantastic. It's quieted a little bit, though. Suter has definitely quieted. I think he's going to pop up again against one of the Florida teams. I would not be surprised to see Suter either have a multi-assist or a goal type of game against Tampa or Florida. It doesn't matter who at this point. I'm going to pick the Wild to win 4-2 against Tampa Bay. So now we head to the main Florida team, I guess. Well, not really. The Miami, Florida team, I suppose. The Panthers. And they are the main team because they've been playing significantly better this year compared to last. Again, another up-and-down team. I mean, not that long ago, they were in the Eastern Conference Finals. Then they're out of the playoffs last year. And who knows, maybe they'll be back in the Eastern Conference Finals again. They're 21-12-4 on the season. Outstanding run for the Florida Panthers. What a nice team they've become. Oh, Willie, I missed you so much. And Roberto Luongo, Mr. Familiar over there in Florida. Not quite the up-and-down player he was with the Vancouver Canucks for the last 99 years overall. Not a whole lot of familiar names for the Florida Panthers, but it spells good defense. And, of course, there's one extremely familiar name, and that's Jaromir Jagr, who's about as old as it gets, yet he's the leading scorer in this team. I mean, he is just an ageless wonder. Remember for how long we thought Jaromir Jagr was this, I don't give a crap, I don't even enjoy this sport, and he's always hurt, and then he's back, but he doesn't seem to care, not much effort. Yeah, how long did you see him that way? And now, what a polar opposite he has become since his comeback to the NHL. Remember when we just kind of chuckled when he signed with the Philadelphia Flyers a couple of years back? Me and Neil were kind of like, well, he's back. I mean, I guess he's back. He'd been gone forever. He's back to the NHL again. I guess he enjoys it now. He's just, okay, I don't know what to say. 3 whole years later, he comes back, and after he left the New York Rangers, just a solid overall stud player ever since. Just so good. Man, I liked it when he was at the Boston Bruins. He was such a factor. He almost won another Stanley Cup, and he was still good for that team. And he's been pretty good for the Florida Panthers ever since. Last year, well, of course, New Jersey Devils before that, and then was traded to Florida. And he's been a factor, and he may get back into the playoffs again. He's leading the team in scoring, 26 points. Not the highest scoring team in the history of the world. When's the last time Florida's been a high-scoring team? I can't even remember. They've always been pretty much a defensive, grinded-out type of team. You got Campbell. You got Willie Mitchell. That's the second defensive pairing. They're solid stud defensemen for Florida. And again, Mr. Luongo's been good for a while. Aaron Ekblad has been really good for them. 18 points on the season. He's one of the top defensemen. He's got 9 goals on the year. That's pretty high for a defenseman. And then you have Kulikov, who's not quite as much. He's more of the defensive guy of the two on that top pairing. But then you got Mitchell and Campbell. Campbell, the higher scoring guy. Blah blah blah. You get the idea. I don't think the Wild are going to win this one. It seems like we never have success against this team for whatever reason. Florida wins 3-1 over the Wild. I think they'll be tired. I think they'll be enjoying that Tampa Bay victory, but they'll be tired and they won't play as well. I don't think they'll win this one, even though they've had success against Roberto Luongo in the past with Vancouver. Not so much with the Florida Panthers, though. Another strong season for him. 2.16 on the year. Outstanding run for Roberto Luongo and the Florida Panthers. They'll continue to compete for that division championship over there. 3-1 victory, Florida, unfortunately. So let's wrap things up with our future center and possibly and possibly Jonas Brodin's new home, and we'll see what happens with that. But Columbus Blue Jackets, one of the worst teams in hockey. The Wild have had strange up and down success rate against this team. Johansson right now, not even like showing in this, not even showing up in the depth chart. I don't know why, but obviously he's fallen out of favor, and they're sitting him down. That's basically what it is. Yeah, I mean, obviously that's what's been going on. Not much of a team ultimately, except for Brandon Saad. Pretty much. I mean, he's pretty much the most familiar name on this franchise. 27 points on the year, by the way, and he's been turned loose. He's on the top line now, not on the second or third for Chicago as he was in the past. Not the evil Otto that he was in the past. Even though I'm sure he's got a little bit of that in him, but in the old days, when he was with Chicago and he was like a third liner and an up and comer, he was able to be evil Otto and have that smirk on his face and agitate people like he did to Clayton Stoner and others over the course of time. Always seemed to get under, for whatever reason, always gets under the skin of Nate Prosser as well. Just always seems to get it done. Nate Prosser, very thin-skinned when he played against Brandon Saad. It was like time and time again. It was pretty fun to watch, ultimately, though at the same time, Saad, just Mr. Evil Otto over there for Columbus, though taking on a more important role on the top line there, not really having to carve out his niche in the NHL to be an agitator on the third line first before you can move up into the top two lines with Chicago and then beyond now to Columbus, much to his chagrin, I'm sure. I'm sure he had a lot more fun winning Stanley Cups in Chicago than he does like having like 8 games above under 500 over there in Columbus. The Blue Jackets have struggled mightily during the course of the season. They've not gotten good goaltending. The backup goalie's averaging about 3.5 goals against, just a non-factor, and Sergei Bobrovsky giving up 2.52 goals against average during the course of the season. Save percentage 91, which isn't the worst ever, but that goals against average, that's not going to get it done. And that's when Devin Dubnyk was struggling. But the Wild, luckily, were getting a lot of offensive production from Mikko Koivu, Thomas Vanek, Jason Pominville too, right? Now, Zach Parise before he got hurt. And Ryan Suter was setting up tons of goals during the course of the time. So the Wild were able to work around Devin Dubnyk's struggles early on. And then, of course, he got much stronger, as did Darcy Kuemper. Very cool there. But when you have numbers like that and you have inconsistent scoring, just an inconsistent team in general in the Columbus Blue Jackets, to me, there's no reason why I shouldn't believe the Wild can win this game. But when you wrap around something that I'm just staring at right now and just can't believe it. And it's ironic, too, how they lost to Tampa 5-2, lost to Florida 3-2. See, it's lower scoring against Florida. Surprise there. It's just kind of how it goes. But they played the two teams the Wild are about to play and lost to both of them. But then you have the Columbus Blue Jackets, a couple days ago on Tuesday, the 29th, beat the Dallas Stars 6-3. I think that's what I would call an urban legend. I debuted that whole bit on Purple Mafia, but that's definitely an urban legend right there. 6-3, really? You I don't understand. I really don't. And that's why it's really hard to predict the Columbus Blue Jackets when you play against them, because the success rate is different every single season. And remember, Sergei Bobrovsky, who'd been strong in the past, was very good against the Wild last New Year's Eve. If you can remember correctly, a 3-1 loss for the Wild. Sergei has had some up and down seasons. His last 2 years, this last one and this one, not been good. Last year he really struggled, but 2 or 3 years before, so strong, about 2.1 goals against average in that point of time. Just a really strong goalie, and again was pretty deadly for the Wild at times, and the Columbus Blue Jackets snuck into the playoffs one of those years. He's had some success for them, and their backup not good at all. 3.5 goals against average for Columbus. I'm going to pick the Wild to win 3-2 with the scoring capabilities of Columbus. There's no reason they shouldn't be able to get 2 goals. They might even, depending on who's in net, I suppose. But the Wild goaltending has been very strong of late, other than the Dallas game when Dubnyk just got shelled big time. But it's Dallas, and there's no reason the Wild shouldn't be able to score against Columbus. I would really throw up and get sick to see the Columbus Blue Jackets get a 6-3 type of win. That would be a really big loss. Dallas must have gotten cocky or something. I don't know what it was with that one. 6-3. I can't understand it. Man, I don't believe Parise returns from that lower body injury, and Darcy Kuemper returns from the upper body injury, both day to day during the course of this week. So there you go. Let's check in on the Iowa Wild, formerly known as the Houston Aeros, right? Let's check in on some of those young, up-and-coming prospects for the Wild. So, I have the Wild going 3-1, losing to Florida, beating Tampa, beating St. Louis. So some of you may disagree with the beating St. Louis, but hey, we're going to do it, damn it, as far as I'm concerned. The Iowa Wild continue to struggle a bit, but Mike Riley now is only 1 point off the lead for scoring with the Iowa Wild. He's now got 16 points in 30 games. He has scored points in consecutive games for quite a while now, about 4 or 5 straight games for Mike Riley, scoring points, a goal in a couple in one or two of them, and then assist in back-to-back nights. 16 points for Mike Riley, only one off of the lead in Christoph Bersetchi, who's been a nice find for the Wild system, leading the Iowa Wild in scoring. Again, nobody's really dominating down there, but when you have the defenseman that close to leading the team in scoring, and of course being an important prospect that Mike Riley is, very, very encouraging for the Wild right there, and again, which could fuel a trade in the not-too-distant future. Because right now, it looks like Mike Riley's adjusting to the professional level quicker than Gustav Olofsson with only 6 points down there. But Olofsson, more of a stay-at-home defenseman at this stage. Other guys like Jared Knight still stuck at 6 points. He's been there forever. I don't know, man. I don't know what to say. Michael Keranen tied with Mike Riley for second in scoring down there in Houston. Overall, Tyler Grevach just getting back now, finally. Seven games so far, only 2 assists. So it's going to be a while till he's back up with the Wild again. It's too bad because he started out the season on the fourth line. He's like the perfect fourth line center. And, well, he got hurt right away. First game. I think he's going to be down there for a while developing. And good luck to him. It's going to be between him and Eric Holla possibly going back down to Iowa. Ultimately, but right now, I guess it's Grevach. Brett Balmer still stuck at 3 points on the season, but of course he's been missing time with injury. Big frustration there, ultimately, for the Wild. Jordan Schrader, a guy who's been up and down, obviously with the Minnesota Wild and the Iowa Wild over the course of time. Quite the speedster indeed. You all know who he is, and you all know what a factor he can be, and he was a factor in the postseason last year, off and on. 13 points down there in Iowa in 19 games. Probably the most productive overall player down there. But, of course, he's the most NHL-ready player. And again, the limited games is because he's been up here in the National Hockey League, which is nice to know. Nice to know indeed. So with that, I would like to invite you guys to join the Facebook page for Brave the Wild. Type in Brave the Wild Minnesota Wild Show on Facebook. Type that in and then click the big like button. Join the page. We've had a lot of new likes on there, and it's really cool. A lot of people joining the page. Really appreciate it. It's just been going up. Not sure if all of you guys are listening to the show, but if you are, welcome aboard, and thank you very much. Yeah, this is a New Year's Eve edition of the show. I'm kind of all over the place today, and I apologize if it seems kind of crazy, kind of weird, but at the same time, I'm trying to give you what I can here, give you the best show that I can do at this point. With my crazy schedule, trying to get it in at a weird time again. That's the hardest part, trying to get the show at a weird time. I'd rather do it on the weekends. That way I can get kind of more of a momentum, a pace and such. But overall, it just is what it is. And it's always fun to watch how this team's momentum swings from this line to this line to this line. But the one guy who's been constant all year has been Mikko Koivu, ultimately. I've had a lot of fun covering this team the last almost 8 years now. I've really enjoyed it. Ultimately, so again, I want to thank you guys for joining the page, giving you a brief little hello there. I thought I might as well give you that. For Twitter, there's @BraveTheWild. Of course, all just one word. Give that a follow. Tweet me anytime during a game. It's more than welcome, or after a game, or whatever. You're more than welcome to do that. I really appreciate it. I always love talking hockey. I love keeping up with it as much as possible. And I love keeping you up to date with it as well. Not only with the NHL, with the Minnesota Wild, but down with the Iowa Wild. Keep you up to date with some of the prospects down there anyway, whereas with the college season. I'll get more on that during the course of time because college hockey's kind of in that down period right now during the holiday season. It kind of stops for a while, and then you get into the conference. Games, and that's when things get better, and you can really start to gauge what's going on with the youngsters at the college level as well. Looking forward to that. So thank you again for listening very much. Do tell a friend. If you do like the show, please give me a rating on iTunes. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you happen to be listening on Stitcher, there's a way to give me a rating on there as well. Give me a nice positive rating. Say what you like about the show, and don't be afraid to mention what you'd like to see improved as well. But if you're going to come on there and just troll and bash, don't bother. There's no point. This is just a small show right now. even though it's been around a while, there's just no point in trolling. I don't know. I mean, just find something else to do. Go for a walk, whatever it is. Or just listen to a new show of Brave the Wild and then maybe try to judge it a little better than maybe the first 5 minutes or some 2 seconds of a show. That's kind of a dumb way to go, ultimately. Thank you again so much for listening. Do tell your friends. It would be greatly appreciated. And just give me a hello on Twitter, Facebook. So we'll wrap things up. We'll be back to talk about that Florida two-step and, well, a couple of very different games against Columbus and St. Louis as well.